Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. All right, everybody, welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where Nicolò and we discuss the latest news happening in the Italian ecosystem. Right now, we're live on Twitter for the first time. And of course, you can catch us also on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. So without further ado, we have a bunch of different verticals of things happening in different verticals, from biomedics to crypto. So let's start going through everything that has been happening.
Yep. There was the last one was a busy week. So there are a lot of news. From where do you want to start? From the first one, for example?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do
BionIT Labs. The developer of Adam's Hand. So here we are in the medical device realm, I believe. And this startup from the southern Italy, actually from Puglia. They developed this advanced hands, bionic hands, which is quite interesting, quite futuristic in a sense as you watch the videos. I don't know whether you want to take a look.
Absolutely. And apparently it's one of the few technologies that they're using what is defined as, I believe, myoelectric prosthesis, which essentially harness the power of the natural way we essentially use our hands. And so through sensor, they're actually trying to make everything move and building around it. And it's not as common as one might think. So very interesting product for sure. And it looks like they're at a great stage of development for sure.
And the thing that amused me in a way is that you configure your connection with the hand via a device like a tablet. I was watching the video of the app where you think about moving the muscle and the electric impulse goes through your limb. And then the app recognizes the impulse and is able to associate the impulse to the movement of the hand as you configure the hand. So that's quite futuristic again. And to get to the round, they raised 3.5 million euros from CDP Venture Capital to continue developing this device.
Yeah, and it's one of the many funds from CDP that we always talk about, and this is the Imprese Sud. So actually, this is also something relevant because we've seen like how the activity is happening. So not only through one specific fund, but really they're calibrating all the different funds depending on the project. So that's really cool actually. Awesome. So let's move to fintech now. Banca Sella, one of the executives of Banca Sella, is basically developing one fintech startup, and it's not alone. What is happening is they're trying to develop tools that are helping the small and medium enterprises on a different levels. And this project is called the TOT. And that's especially directed to micro enterprises. And of course, Banca Sella entered with 2 million seed round. And it looks like another way that, Sella's been very active. That's definitely a good bet for them in terms of extending the range of services that a traditional bank offers. So this is probably something they're seriously considering.
Yeah, this is something that I don't know whether to identify as a spin-off of Banca Sella or a startup. But as you can see from the article, two of the founders are former employees of Banca Sella, the CTO, and a member of the marketing team of Fabric that we spoke about one of the last episodes. Are from Sella. So basically, the bank is investing on its own people developing these new products.
But that's a great message from a bank which is really trying to push out even in innovation project and not just trying to do all by themselves. So I mean, Sella have been has been extremely active, and we know that, and it's another proof of it. So pretty cool.
I totally agree with you. That's a great signal. Very uncommon in a sense.
Yeah. Is there like, I'm trying to think of other banks that are trying to do something as close as Banca Sella is doing in the tech ecosystem. The only one I can think of is really Intesa, but Intesa, which has an innovation center in Turin. It's a different kind of model, I believe. It's more toward financing instead of trying spinning off and financing and doing a bunch of stuff. So it looks like Sella is really exploring like the different paths, while Intesa is kind of taking the classic route and throwing in the mix like a little bit of an innovation project, but as either a lender or an investor.
Yeah, I agree. Probably Banca Sella has a more international approach. So there's a newsletter I follow that's very interesting. And one of the outcomes of this rider or analysis of the current state of society of this rider is basically that every startup eventually will try to become a bank.
Okay.
And every bank eventually will try to become a tech company. And I think that Sella
awesome.
is quite advanced in this reasoning, at least in the Italian ecosystem.
That's an awesome point. Awesome point. Very cool. Very interesting. All right, moving on. Deesup, design furniture marketplace. Deesup has been around for a while. They managed to close a raise of 1.4 million from LVenture, ALICrowd, and Club Degli Investitori, and also Doorway. So they've been like, I've seen these around for a while, and they're really like trying to push everything that is the pre-owned and vintage sort of furniture. So it is like a marketplace / sustainability play, and that's interesting. It's a new sensitivity for the consumer for sure. Like everything that is vintage is pre-owned.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. That there's a trend over there. So there is a lot of interest for sure, and the other recent startups that have been doing quite well are again a signal of the importance, the relevance of this market. So Deesup apparently is doing well. So this is good news for this round. And hopefully they will be able to grow internationally as they are planning from the article.
Yep, fantastic.
It's a female-led, so one of the founders is a woman. So another thing that we need to somehow remind us.
Yeah. It's becoming more and more common. It's a big trend. Hopefully female entrepreneurs are gonna be big probably in the future. So we'll have someone that will take the lead at some point and be sort of the reference point in Italy. But we've seen many good examples for sure. All right, let's move to your favorites, the cybersecurity startup Random Power. Since you have a weak spot for cybersecurity, I was very interested in seeing what exactly was that Random Power was developing, and essentially it's something very specific, which is a true random bit generator, which is used for key generation and therefore increasing the effectiveness with which we can essentially protect data. And Nico, you know everything better than me, so if you can throw some light on it to the uninitiated in cybersecurity.
Well, I'll try up to a point. Well, Random Power is a startup coming out from the Polytechnic of Milan. It's a research team. And they identified this approach to use quantum technology to generate true random numbers, which sounds like something silly. Why do we need random numbers? But actually, random numbers are basically at the base of any communication algorithm at the base of a lot of programs, where generating a true random number is not easy. And in traditional computing, we always talk about the pseudo random number generator, and the pseudo part is key. If you are able to understand the way the generator works, you are able to identify the number sequence that the generator would create. And that's important, because if you use random numbers to encrypt communication, for example, well, you really want true random numbers. So that's the starting idea behind random power and the use of quantum technology to generate this type of random bits.
Super interesting.
It might make sense as an add-on to other computing platforms and communication systems.
Yeah. And the investor in this situation is LIFTT from Stefano Buono, himself a physicist. So it kind of makes sense. He's like really placing bets in his own space that he knows probably really well. And LIFTT has been also an extremely active player, I believe, in the past year especially. I think they started in 2019, or maybe it's not much. They've been around like not for too long, and they've been like extremely active. So definitely a great company to look into. Fantastic.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about another big player always in the Piedmontese market, which is Exor Seeds, investing in Solidus Labs. So Exor Seeds participated in a 15 million round to invest in Solidus Labs, which is a risk management services for crypto exchange and cryptocurrencies in general.
Yep. I don't have much to add here other than I'm intrigued by the way Exor Seeds is deploying capital now. So it's spanning from things that are actually in scope, let's say so, of the original Stellantis market presence, to things that looks completely unrelated, such as this one. So it would be interesting to know more about the thesis behind this type of investment. Still, I get it in an absolute way. So here we're talking about risk management compliant in the crypto space. This is something that's going to be huge as crypto is becoming a part of standard portfolio management for investors. So it makes absolute sense.
Yeah, it feels like they're taking sort of an indirect route to crypto. So instead of getting currencies and tokens, they're like looking into the infrastructure. So that's another way that we've seen, using from other investors, where they essentially take a play on the infrastructure of what is happening in the market. So in this case, it's a compliance and on exchanges. So that's definitely part of a substantial part of the ecosystem infrastructure.
Yeah, I agree. So this is very interesting take, rather different than traditional DeFi or tokens or weird stuff going around. This is something that will be relevant if crypto becomes relevant for the traditional, let's say so, investment market.
Perfect. Very cool. I was also curious about the IPO filing for Genenta. Genenta is a company that is developing a therapy against cancer, and they've been around quite a while, I believe. And they actually started the process of filing for NASDAQ. We've seen a few Italian companies going public in the past years. And in terms of the health science, that's probably one of a good mentionable example.
Oh, yeah, of course, that's not my vertical, so I don't know much about what they're doing. But one of the interesting things from the announcement was that this would be the first Italian biotech company on the NASDAQ, listed on the NASDAQ.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, record setting. And there are from other news articles, it seems that they're trying to raise, or they're going to raise around $35 million. So we have an idea of how the size.
How big? Yeah.
Very. I don't know how much they are going to float.
Yeah. All right, let me jump to a quick run through as we're exhausting our time. Cassini, a very interesting play from the European Commission launching a 1 billion investment program. So huge amount of money for the new space economy that is developing, and the European Commission is not falling behind. So Cassini, it's kind of, I don't know how marketed was the initiative. Looks like it just starting. So you kind of caught this initiative as it was, there like starting. So that's definitely something worth noticing.
As you said, this is good. I like the European Commission in particular investing on defining technologies for the next decade, and of course, space is one of those. We know, yeah. we launch a space tech fund. So having 1 billion of resources deployed, in particular to startups, to business creation, not to basic research or to advanced research. That's it. 1 billion to entrepreneurs. That's very good news. And the program will be built around seed and growth funding facilities and everything that goes around those. So I'm looking forward to knowing more about what they are going to do, but because the as you said, the website is still quite empty. It only talks about hackathons and mentoring, but the real meat, the real juice will come later as they decide how to deploy capital and where to invest. So
I mean the accelerator also, the space accelerator from Cassini, that's definitely going to be, worth of notice, given that a lot of space accelerator have been developed and they're coming out, especially this year. So let's keep an eye on this one for sure. All right.
I was about to write the European Commission launched Cassini again. But,
okay. Because it was it was a satellite, no, like an explorer.
Yes,
that's a good point. It sounded.
It was a probe going I don't know where, but
It probably burned somewhere in space. We don't know. Awesome. All right. One other interesting initiative is a copycat venture builder from Jellyfy. So Jellyfy has been working with corporation in trying to help them to expand their corporate venture programs, both building startups, co-investing, and having different models. Another one they're testing out is the so-called copycat, which is essentially grabbing technologies that have been validated in other countries and trying to implement them in Italy and see whether they fly or not. This is going to be interesting because a lot of people I've met have tried this kind of model, like a copycat kind of version. I don't think it's easy. Because whenever a company, I believe, starts, it's really like the product of their own environment to some extent. So we'll see. It's a very challenging proposition for sure.
Yep, I agree with you. Probably one of the defining parts of Jellyfy is that they have the technical and business capabilities to make quick experiments, so to go fast, develop, get in touch with customers, because of the way Jellyfy works. It's not just an investor, it's a consulting firm that works a lot with B2B customers. So they have probably some advantages with respect to someone starting from scratch with this type of business. But as you are, I am curious as well about the first test and the first stars that we come out from this program.
They look like they're gonna focus on SaaS, B2B SaaS.
B2B.
Yeah, so that's already like good news for them, because then it's more definitive strategy and definitely more powerful than just a broad copycat sort of company. So yeah, maybe they're doing something which has a good chance of work for sure. Very interesting. All right, going forward, one of the few publicly listed company investing in startup for AIM, yeah, that's the name. And essentially, the first time I saw it is when I was researching public markets and how exactly listed holding companies are investing in startup. And yeah, this is also like a good initiative when it comes to supporting small companies and crowd-funded companies. So they have a very specific angle here. So their investment strategy is made by two comparti, which is two kind of investment theses, if you will. One is to the traditional industry, small and medium enterprise, and the other one is basically co-investing with companies that have or are doing crowdfunding in some form or another. So it's startups, but also small to medium enterprises. That's an interesting take.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, for AIM started out, as you said, from the first compartment, investing in listed small and micro enterprises, basically. So on the now it's called the Euronext growth market. And now the second compartment is investing in private companies that are doing crowdfunding campaigns. So it's a move up market in a sense. So in the previous phase of the market.
Yep.
And that's interesting. It says something about the similarities between a crowdfunded company and the listed company on a minor market such as the former AIM.
Yeah.
And the second interesting bit here is that in this specific news that hit me is that the fund is investing in the crowdfunding campaign of a fund.
Exactly. So it's a fund investing on a fund on crowdfunding. So the Redfish Long-Term Capital is basically active right now on Upstart. I think they did a few rounds. So if you go on Upstart, you can really see some of the different moments that they try to put together. This is the first closing, I believe, the one that I'm showing on here on the screen. And so the company for AIM is investing in a fund, in a basically crowdsourced fund. That's what it is, right?
It's a crowdfunded fund.
Crowdfunded fund, exactly.
Well, they I don't want to say something wrong, but long-term capital, Redfish invest in very specific type of companies. So it's again, it is a matter of we probably discussed this here, and for sure I discussed it on the newsletter. It's a term of access. Mm-hmm. So investing in someone who's placing a product that gives you access to something that otherwise would be out of your reach. Yeah. But again, this is quite meta and quite interesting.
Yeah, it's very meta. I don't know if the crowdfunding would be a good way to raise funds, especially for for professional investors in tech. It's definitely something to explore. Also, when the big ICO were happening, some people try to do that. So using tools essentially to raise capital in some form or another. Not conventional for sure. Definitely not conventional. So interesting. I didn't know too much about Upstart, to be honest with you. I think just quickly, this is like an equity crowdfunding site, mostly for more like less tech companies, looks like. So I have giant bamboo companies, I have electric mobility, like cosmetic companies. So it's there's a lot of variety here.
Yeah, and it's quite amusing the numbers that I'm seeing on the platform. So I mean, the minimum investment was like 3,000 euros, and the capital raise was like 1.6 million, like 55,000% more than the minimum investment. So it's interesting way to approach crowdfunding. But still, yes, I agree with you. That's not so much about technology rather than about a broader scope, a broader access to other type.
So maybe that's what it is, because there is also other initiative like investment management company raising money through this platform. And maybe that's an access play, as you say, just getting access to a certain possibilities of investments. Interesting. All right. Excellent. I would end in talking about what is happening in Rome with the airports. So the Rome airports, the company which is managing the airport of Rome, is essentially launching a POC with LVenture Group to essentially rethink, I believe, airports. That's what it is, right?
Well, so it seems. So it's basically it's an incubation program hosted in an airport, in the airport, to aim at startups that actually have something to do with an airport. So a way an airport work, or the services in the airport and stuff like that. From what I understand from the news. And again, it's extremely vertical, extremely specific.
Like the vertical are passenger experience and sustainability. Extremely narrow, but definitely valuable. With the new reactivation of traveling, that's a good moment for people to expect something different and even to offer something different. That's it's a good moment for sure.
No, I agree. And if you think about it, airports are, well, probably not so many, but they see hundreds of thousands of people work for an airport every year. So that's probably something that can be, at least from a point of view of a startup, there can be something there to get your hands on in terms of market, in terms of customers, in terms of users, and so on.
Exactly. Very cool. All right. I think our time's up. Thank you, Nico, for the great run through the latest news. Again, for the listener, this is the Week in Italian Startup. We're live on YouTube, and we are available also from today on Twitter Spaces on Monday night. And you can also catch us on Spotify and Apple Podcast and Google Podcast. Nico, thank you so much. Thank everybody that joined, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, Jack. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.